progressive, scientific religion this is. This individual is going to try to give you all manner of convenient reasons to convert to it, but is going to omit that inconvenient little detail. Now that I've come down on a favorite Muslim practice, I'm next going to come down on Republican practices. Now don't get me wrong, I hear Republicans say a lot of things that make sense, but usually it's because they're straw-manning Democrats. That is, instead of disputing an argument the Dems have actually made, they surreptitiously accuse them of making a fundamentally different, though cosmetically reminiscent argument, and dispute that. This is a classical straw man. It never fails. Every election in the United States, whether general or midterm, widely circulated, are Republican efforts to repackage trickle-down economics and sell it like some radical revolutionary new policy. There are two fallacies at work here: weasel words and lie by omission. They neglect to mention, they omit, that it's called trickle-down economics, and that it has been tried several times already. Here's how it works, or rather, how it's supposed to work. The idea is that if you concentrate the tax cuts among the wealthy big business magnates, they will use these savings to expand their operations, creating jobs. That's how it's supposed to work. But here's the reason it doesn't. If you want a certain party to take a certain action, you must grant that party both the opportunity and the motive. Granting the parties in question all these tax cuts provides them with the one, but not the other, unless the economy is already doing well. But if economic conditions are such that everyone is compelled to pinch their pennies, then these magnates have no reason to believe that expanding their operations will be profitable, and therefore have no reason to do it. As a result, the only way this adds jobs is if these parties use their newfound savings to buy themselves more mansions, limos, and yachts, and hire people to help maintain them. The truth is that economic prosperity does not trickle down. It bubbles up. It seems to me that this is probably the case in other countries as well, though I can't say for certain, but the demographics in the United States that do the most spending, not per person of course, but total, are the middle class. If you concentrate the tax cuts there, those in these tax brackets who suddenly find themselves spending less on taxes are going to be compelled to spend more on goods and services. Ah, but wait. Someone no doubt is going to ask, well, how do you know they will respond that way? How do you know they won't just take their newfound savings and put them in their pockets? That's a good question. No doubt many of them will. But let's think about it for a moment. What compels people to save anything at all? The fact that that something has value, at least to them. What is it that gives money enough value to make it worth saving? What you can do with it. What you can buy with it. The only reason anyone saves money is for the hope of spending it later. If not for that hope, the money would not be valuable enough to bother holding on to. So if these people react by putting this money in savings instead, that just means that they're hoping to spend it later. So at worst, we are looking at a delay in spending. We can bank on the desire of people to spend money at some point. Therefore, those who don't have to spend as much on taxes are going to spend more on goods and services, which is going to profit the firms which provide those goods and services, which is going to profit the people who run those firms, as well as the people who own them. This gives them the increased revenue and therefore the opportunity to expand their operations and create jobs. But what about the motive? Well, I'm getting to that. Now, if middle-class taxes are cut enough for the resulting increase in demand for goods and services to exceed what a given firm and its competitors are equipped to provide, then that firm and its competitors are compelled to increase their capacity to provide those goods and services. And to do that, you have to hire more people. Or you have to change your infrastructure, and for that you also have to hire more people. A government can also greatly help this process along by increasing its spending on goods and services, which depend on middle-class skills, thereby increasing the number of people in the middle class who can afford to buy goods and services. Of course, all this depends on competition, so to ensure that, one must likewise grant tax cuts to small businesses trying to begin in the industry in question. One must proactively combat any trend toward monopoly, and foster competition. Now, it seems to me that really only one party stands to lose out in such an approach. Firms whose main source of revenue is government contracts. When the government isn't bringing in as much in taxes, it can't afford to pay out as much to contractors, so it's a little less likely to sign and renew contracts. But this just means that those contractors have a vested interest in branching out into the public market. They really should know better than to put all their eggs in one basket. Well, anyhow, so once you have the firms in a certain industry expanding their operations and adding jobs, then you have more people earning income, which means more people can afford to buy goods and services, which increases the demand for those goods and services, which gives those firms a reason to further increase their capacity to provide them, thereby having to add even more jobs, and here we have a financial self-feeding cycle. This gives those firms a vested interest in competing. They have to compete over customers, which pushes them to make the most of the goods and services they can provide, while simultaneously pushing them to make the least of their prices, and they have to compete over employees, which pushes them to make the most of employee wages, benefits packages, and working conditions. So then you have more people in the middle class holding down decent jobs and earning decent wages, and you have more quality goods and services marketed to the middle class, which more and more of them can now afford to buy. So you see, economic prosperity really does bubble up instead of trickling down. I know, I've digressed, but my point here is simply to beware the lie by omission. Thank you.